Okay, good morning. I hope everybody is well. For those of you that are watching this video, you can see my dog having a little snooze in the background. Just finished my morning routine and feeling very reflective today. What I wanted to share this morning, I sort of wish I had recorded this last night. I wish I had my microphone at the time when I was downloading this message when I was out for my walk yesterday, because in that moment of receiving, in that moment of inspiration, it's always easier to communicate the message. But I will do my very best because the intention behind it is still very, very, very important. And the intention behind this message is to keep hope alive. Okay, that gives me chills. So yesterday I went out for a walk. I was feeling really kind of cooped up in my home. I get up early, I do my routine. We homeschool. During lunch, I plug myself into something to do with my business, or I plug myself into something, a course that I'm doing at the moment, something productive that I can learn from. And then when I finish homeschooling, I get some work done. And it got to about 7 o'clock last night, and I had been sat all day learning and teaching. So I decided to go for a walk, and I decided that when I go for my walks now, that this is going to be my time to be connected with nature. So that means that I go out without a phone. And I walk and I essentially meditate. Like you can do walking meditations where you're just with you and your thoughts and just nature and appreciating everything around you. Anyone that saw me probably thought I was a crazy lady, because I'm like walking past every tree and I'm really looking at the details in the tree. What I noticed is that I was looking up. I found myself drawn to looking up at the night sky. Even though last night it was cloudy, I couldn't see any stars. I didn't really see the moon. I felt really drawn to keep looking up. And I spoke to somebody yesterday when I got back from my walk, and I spoke to her about exactly that. And she said to me, it's hard to be down when you're looking up. Now, isn't that something? It's hard to be down when you're looking up. And I thought that felt really profound in that moment, because what I recognized where I was so drawn to look up, where I was so drawn to look at the trees and to look at the way that the branches were swaying and that other leaves were moving on different plants around me. And I found myself thinking about how everything is living and breathing. Pretty deep. But I did, because I was away from these forced distractions from my phone. So anyway, I just wanted to share that because I felt that was really interesting and really profound. So about halfway into my walk, I was out walking for about 40 minutes, about 20 minutes in, I started thinking about what is happening on a collective basis right now. Now, no matter what your belief systems are around what is happening on a global scale, one thing that I believe that we can all agree on, because it is the simple truth, that a lot of pain is being brought to the surface. Now, that pain is collective. There is a lot of pain that's been brought to the surface that it's always been there. This is what we need to understand. The pain that we're experiencing, whether it's on a collective basis or whether it's on a personal basis, it's always been there. But we've either chosen to ignore it, or we have been distracted and not recognized it. So last year in 2020, it threw a lot of people into a huge wobble, a huge dip, because all of a sudden it felt that the world was getting darker, when the reality, I really dislike the word reality, I don't know why, but the truth is the darkness was always there. No one shone a light on it. And a massive light has been shone on it now. And whether we like it or not, we're going to see things that we didn't know existed. We are going to be opening our eyes to things that we never thought we would have to see. And I was thinking about this. And I was thinking about how, on a personal basis, I've experienced a lot of heaviness in my life, but I've made it out the other side. And I started asking myself, why? Why is it that people can be addicted to drugs, for example, addicted to lying, addicted to pain? And then one day you hit this wall where it is so bad, the only way is to start going backwards. The only way is to pick yourself up, because if you don't, you check out, right? And this happens, and it's very sad when it does happen. It's very sad when people get to a place where they don't feel like they can continue. And of course, there's many stories of where people will make an attempt to check out and it doesn't happen. And in that moment is when they realize there's a reason for that, and they start to do the work. So what's the underlying thing? What is it? What's that little thing, that tiny thing that we clasp onto that means we can move forward? It's hope. It's faith. Okay. So when I was thinking about this last night, it was such a profound realization of things are going to get pretty heavy for everyone. And sadly, yes, there will always be people who it's too heavy and they lose hope. Now, when people lose hope, there's no coming back from that. But for the majority of humans, no matter how bad things get, there is always even a tiny bit of hope. You're in a really, really bad relationship, but you still believe in love, you still believe it's possible. That's hope. You know, you're addicted to drugs, but you can see that other people aren't addicted to drugs, and you long to be like that. That's hope. There's still that tiny bit of hope. So what I kind of downloaded last night when I started thinking about, wow, like how are people going to cope? You know, people have already been struggling. And I'll be honest with you, like I have actually been I've been a lot more productive on like lockdown 3.0, as people call it. However, I do feel it. I do feel it, and probably more so than the first two. And I think we're all at that place, right? So what I was asking is, it's so heavy. It's going to get so heavy. You know, where do I need to focus my attention? Where should I be focusing my good energy? Where should I be focusing, you know, my love, my unconditional love? And what came through was, it doesn't matter how broken somebody is mentally or physically, they can always come back. It's if you break somebody's spirit and which is their connection to source, which is your connection to God, the universe, whatever it is that you want to call it, is your connection to hope, to belief, to faith. That's where that resides. That's when they're, you know, that's where the struggle lies. So I decided in that moment, okay, so my prayer, my wish, my energy, my intention is going to be directed towards the least amount of destruction, because everyone will be affected by it, but the least amount of destruction to somebody's spirit. And if I'm completely honest with you, I believe the human spirit is somewhat underestimated. If you look at what we have experienced personally and as a collective throughout history, every time something has fallen down, it's been built back up again. And that's the world that we live in. There is cause and effect. There is masculine, there is feminine, there is God, there is Satan, there is good, there is bad. There is always an equal and opposite reaction to every action. So no matter how bad things feel or how bad things get, they're always, by the laws of the universe, must be good. There must be light with the dark. There must be positive to negative. It is the world that we live in. So as long as we can embody that, and as long as we can understand that no matter how bad things get, no matter how bad things feel, no matter how much you hurt, that the hope is the knowing that there is always something better out there. Always. And I really wanted to share that because it felt so incredibly profound when that thought came into my mind of humans have been underestimated. Our spirit has been underestimated because innately we understand, whether we realize it or not, the laws of the universe. We understand that there is these two polarities. And I wanted to share that because there might be somebody that's listening to this today, or there might be somebody that listens to this that knows of somebody that needs to hear that. Is exactly what I was talking about on the on the podcast with Neelam. You know, people have a breakdown before they have a breakthrough. It doesn't need to get to that stage where people get so low that they have to push themselves through. But generally that is what kind of tends to happen. And I think the reason why that is because in that moment, we begin to understand. In that dark night of the soul, we begin to understand that there's more to life than that it is possible, because somebody else is standing there and going before us and showing us that it's possible. And this is also a call out to anybody that sees themselves or is a starseed, a light worker, a heart-centered person, whatever you want to resonate with, whatever label it is that you want to put on it, that we had a job to do in sharing a different perspective to what people were seeing mainstream. We had to do that. There was a role to play. We needed to share that opposite perspective to trigger something in people's minds where they thought, hold on a minute, I'm not in an echo chamber. Not everybody's saying the same thing. There's a different opinion out there, and that opinion is conflicting to what I'm seeing over here. Am I prepared to do the work to figure out how I connect the two? Is there a connection between the two? So we had a job to do in that perspective. So if you have ever shared anything over the last year that has been different to a mainstream narrative, you need to understand that you had a part to play and you absolutely needed to do that. However, we are in a place now where enough of that has happened, and I feel what the job to do now is to model. So what I was just saying about how if somebody is addicted to drugs, for example, I use this as an example because it's something I've experienced in my own life, with being married to somebody that was addicted to substances. You I've lost my train of thought now. That's right. From using that analogy of seeing other people that aren't in that same situation, knowing that there's hope, I feel our responsibility now, if we want to look at it as a responsibility, it's not an expectation. You can take it or you can leave it. But I feel that the place now is not so much to be saying, look, there's a different perspective. It's to be, I'm actually going to embody everything that I'm talking about. I'm going to show people how they can improve their mindset. I'm going to show people how they can improve their health. I'm going to put myself out there going for a walk, or I'm going to put myself out there doing a home workout. I'm going to put myself out there eating better. I'm going to put myself out there working on myself every morning. I'm going to put myself out there showing people how I am managing my emotions and my physical body in this time, because now people are looking for a solution, and people were always looking for a solution, but I don't feel like they were probably ready for it. But in a time where things are probably going to start apologies if there is a big delay, then my internet just completely went. But what I was saying was, if it starts to embody that now, embody your message, embody the solution rather than embody filling people's minds with more of the truth. That's how I see it, because this is how we help raise people's spirit. And that's what's important. It's important to keep hope alive. And I really recognized that on my walk last night. And then the other thing I just wanted to share as well, from when I was kind of walking last night and, you know, processing my thoughts and downloading these messages, was right now we live in this world of, you know, of complete polarity, the positive and the negative, and being hung up on the polarity. So as an example, you don't like me because, as an example, right? You don't like me because I'm able to freely express myself through this podcast, and you wish that you could freely express yourself. And rather than see this as the opportunity to know that if somebody else can express themselves, that you can too, you decide to come from a place of judgment and blame and complaining and justifying, because you're caught up in the polarity of it. You're not understanding or embodying that because I am able to do that, and right now you're in a place where you don't feel like you're able to do that, that the very fact that I can do it means that you can too. There's hope. This is so good. But you're caught up in the polarity. You're caught up in the bit in between, rather than being focused on the fact that somebody else can do it. And all you need to do is find out how you bridge the gap. You're stuck. You're in the gap. You're focusing on the gap. You're not focusing on the end result. You're focusing on the gap. That's the world we're living in now. People are focused on the polarity, not the fact that there is two opposing sides, that there is an opposing side. That's where people are caught up. That's what's happening. When people talk about moving from the third dimension into the fifth dimension, being in the quantum realm, what this means is that polarity, and I was asking this question last night when I was kind of channeling, I guess, will there still be polarity in a quantum field? And the answer that I received was yes, there is still polarity, but you're not caught up in the polarity. There's more boundaries and mutual respect. So instead of using that example of I can speak freely and you don't feel like you can speak freely, rather than you actually being caught up in that gap of the polarity, you'll just put a boundary there. And you'll say, well, you just accept it. You'll accept. You'll be, she can speak freely, Natalie can speak freely, and I can't. And because of that, I'm not going to listen to her. Boundary. Move on. I respect that she can do it. I respect that I'm not willing to put in the work to enable me to bridge that gap. So I'm going to put a boundary there. And I'm going to connect with people that are on the same path as me, that are on the same wavelength. That's 5D. It's bridging it's choosing to bridge the gap or put in a boundary and have mutual respect and actually honor people for what it is that they believe. So let's take another example. And I almost feel like I'm sorry to use this as an example, but I'm going to anyway, because it's just prominent in the world that we're living in right now. Someone wants to wear a mask because they believe that they are doing the best for other people. Okay. They believe they're doing the best for everybody else. They believe that they're playing their part because that's their truth and that's okay. Then we have somebody that doesn't wear a mask because they choose to, instead of walking around with a mask on their face, to stop anyone else from picking up any bacteria, whatever, germs, whatever it is that you believe, that instead they would rather put themselves first, choose to eat better, choose to to exercise, choose to look into how they can keep their immune system running at an optimum level, and look out and and that's how they keep themselves safe, and that's how they keep other people safe, because if they keep themselves healthy, they are not going to make anybody sick. Okay, so both people are having the same belief system, however they've got very different ways of looking at it. Rather than somebody that's wearing a mask saying, okay, I want to be in a position where I know that my health is at an optimum level and that I can walk around freely without feeling like I need to wear this to protect other people, because if I protect myself, I can then protect other people. And I can see that that person over there is doing exactly that. So therefore, I'm going to find out what it is that that person's doing. I'm going to bridge the gap. I'm going to find out what they're doing. I'm going to be inspired by that, and I'm going to do something about it instead. Or the opposite, the polarity of that person's not doing what I believe they should be doing. Actually, that's a better example. Both sides. That person's not doing what I believe that they should be doing. Why aren't they just looking after themselves? Oh, that person's not doing what they should be doing. Why can't they just wear a mask, right? Rather than being in that third dimensional field, or maybe fourth dimension actually, of the polarity, to confuse you, the fourth dimension is the polarity itself. And rather than choosing to bridge the gap, you just put a boundary in place. I respect that that person is not wearing a mask because they're doing everything that they can to protect themselves and therefore protecting others. I respect that person's wearing a mask because they're doing everything that they can to respect themselves and respect others. But I don't need to get caught up in the polarity. So I draw a boundary. That person is going to go and do what they're going to do. I'm going to go and do what I'm going to do. So although the polarity still exists, although the two sides still exist, there's no friction in between. It's just going to be a straight decision of, well, I either want to be like that or I don't. And I'm not going to be going backwards and forwards. Another example that just came into my head. So how about you've got one person that wants to lose weight. They're really unhappy. They're struggling with eating too much, the wrong food, if there is such a thing as a wrong food. And, you know, they really feel sad and they want to make a change. And you've got this person over here that has made the change, that used to be in exactly the same position, and they know exactly how to get them from A to B. And the person that knows how to get them from A to B is frustrated because they're like, why won't this person listen to me? You know, I understand them. Every time I'm trying to help, they don't want to hear it. And this person over here is thinking, I'm never going to be able to do it. I'm never going to be able to get there. I know that they're saying that they understand me, but they don't understand me because they've never lived a day in my shoes. And I can see what they're doing. I can see that it's working for them, but I'm just never going to be able to do it. Rather than be caught up in the headspace of I'm never going to be able to do it, and then putting themselves lower and lower and lower and getting more and more frustrated and having that friction, they're going to draw a boundary. They're going to say, I'm never going to do it that way. I'm never going to do it that way. And I respect the fact that they've done that, and I applaud them for doing that, and I think that they're amazing. And then the other person's going to say, I respect that that person doesn't want to follow the same path as me because it's not their path, and they're just going to draw that boundary and they're going to go their separate ways, but there'll be a mutual respect there. Does that make sense? So anyway, I hope that landed on the right people today. I just felt like it was a really profound thing to share. Sorry if there was a massive gap in between. My internet completely went really random. It's been really good this morning. But I hope you all have a wonderful day. If this resonates with you, or you think it's going to resonate with somebody else, please share. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Lots of love.